It's here. All right. I'm sure most of you have seen or heard of the animated Christian series, The VeggieTales. You know, Larry the Cucumber, Tom the Tomato, or Pa Grape. These vegetables spread the word of good morals, problem solving, and kind treatment towards others. Crazy to imagine, right? But what if plants were actually like the VeggieTales? What if they could develop relationships and problem solve?
Sour.
Or even retain memory and learn from past experiences. I am here today to persuade you that plants are uniquely intelligent and deserve our understanding and respect. After extensive research on plant cognition and intelligence, I first will speak to you about Charles Darwin and his contribution to understanding plant intelligence. Secondly, I will describe how an Italian plant neurobiologist defines intelligence, and through his research has discovered that plants do indeed have intelligent cognitive abilities. And finally, I will describe some of the few various functions that plants are able to perform and possess. Let's begin by starting our discussion with Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin is most famously known for his scientific theory of evolution by natural selection. Interestingly, he also co-authored a book with his son Francis by the name of The Power of Movement in Plants. This was published on November 6, 1880. During this time, Darwin and his son introduced the root-brain hypothesis. According to an article in Plant Signaling and Behavior published December 4, 2009, their hypothesis stated that roots behave as do lower animals, and the plant body acts as a brain-like organ. Darwin and his son Francis felt that plants had huge potential similar to lower functioning animals such as worms. Thankfully, Charles Darwin and his son initiated the introduction to understanding plants, life, and the importance back in 1880. Recent years, studies have been conducted to continue in the search for a better understanding of plant cognition and intelligence. This brings us to our next point. In recent years, scientists have been in search of answers into understanding cognition of plants. Specifically, Stefano Mancuso, an Italian plant neurobiologist, had spent many years conducting research on how plants had cognitive functioning and intelligence. When reading the article The Intelligent Plant in the New Yorker, published in December 2013, he described intelligence as the ability to solve problems. It turns out plants are exceptionally well at solving problems. A website known as Guardian.com, last visited on 10/22/19, described Mancuso as saying that plants have to find energy, reproduce, and stave off predators. He included that plants are both tricky and thrifty and utilize the least amount of resources when solving problems. From plants like the Venus flytrap to tiny sprouts fighting the shade for sunlight. These are just a few examples of how plants have the intelligence to be able to problem solve in order to survive. In order for plants to thrive and survive, they have developed smarts and sentience. That brings us to our final point. I will discuss a few of the various functions plants are able to perform. Interestingly, Guardian.com explains scientists have discovered that plants have at least 20 different senses used to monitor complex conditions in their environment. Humans have only 5 known senses. Mancuso stated in TEDTalkX.com, last visited on 10/22/19, that plants evolved to have no organs because it was too dangerous. Risk of being eaten. Even though plants are organless, they still have functions. They can see without eyes, breathe without their mouth, for example. But in fact, plants move a great deal. Plants move with passive movement. Try to visualize a pine cone opening to retrieve a water droplet and then closing up for safety. Also in the TEDTalksX.com, Mancuso described experiments that he conducted with bean plants. In one experiment, a single bean plant was seen maneuvering its body in order to attach itself to a support pole. In a second experiment, two bean poles competed with one another in order to connect themselves to the support pole first. And when the first bean plant did connect, the second bean began to move in opposite direction. Plants have an amazing ability compatible to humanistic behavior. Plants are our lifelines. They help us breathe, literally. As the royalparks.org states, last visited on 10/24/19, we must respect them and protect them for the future. In closing, as we discussed, plants of all kinds are super unique and intelligent. Plants have the ability to sense and adapt to their environment in order to survive. Plants are vital to human survival. As Stefani Mancuso perfectly stated, why not give plants the respect and understanding they deserve? Thank you.